I know there's a lot of prophecies in the Old Testament that Jesus supposedly fulfilled.
Yeah.
What's the probability of Jesus stumbling into some of these things? The chances of this happening is a 1 followed by 17 zeros. I wrote it down. A 100 quadrillion.
I know there's a lot of prophecies in the Old Testament that Jesus supposedly fulfilled.
Yeah.
How do we know that he fulfilled them? How did we figure that out? And maybe just riff on the prophecies for a minute.
Dude, this is what did it for me. I remember wrestling with all this stuff senior year of high school and like meeting the right people to be like, man, their faith's different than mine. I got to like wake my faith up. Can I have a faith that's not my parents? Like all those things. And then I remember getting to some of the, believe it or not, it was like mathematics and like the improbability of somebody just stumbling their way through these biblical like prophecies.
Oh, I thought you were reading the prophecies in mathematics.
No, and I'm not a math
I'm
kid.
not even paying attention.
Yeah, no. I
Just a
probably should've.
sidebar, yeah.
Definitely not a math kid. I was like the kid that, man, dude, algebra, like as soon as you start adding letters in math, you're like, what are we doing?
They
I need
don't belong
geometry.
there,
I need
honestly.
pictures, you know? I was like, I need pictures.
I was a whiz at math.
I am not surprised, honestly, if you were.
Not at all. I was making up new math.
You're the guy
I
who
actually
created the
did.
math they have today?
No,
You
listen,
created
I
it?
remember Mrs. Seditis in geometry. I'm like, yeah, I think I figured this out. No, I like made up a new proof.
Did you get to
And
the right
she looked
answer?
at me, she's like, why are you, no, that's wrong. she had this pained look on her face, like she wanted to go home and just stop teaching. You know?
I have
She's like,
failed.
why are you doing that?
The
And
reason
she's
she
like,
quit.
just follow what I'm teaching you. And I'm like, yeah, but this works. She's like, no, it doesn't. No, in no way does this work.
You heard it here first. John invented Common Core math. That's what
Yeah, there you
that's
go.
what actually happened.
There you go.
Like today, they would have been like, good try, good effort, good effort.
But yeah, I remember, goodness, like going through some of this content, and I mean, you might know the specifics, John, but Old Testament, the Bible's awesome, right? It's setting up this big story that's leading to Jesus, and so sprinkled throughout the Old Testament, it's talking about, all right, the Messiah, like Jesus, God's Son who comes here to save us. He's going to do all these things, and it's kind of like sprinkling what to look for. And so some of this is like, most of it's probably stuff you can't control. Like, all right, he's going to be born of a virgin. He's going to be born in Bethlehem, like tribe of Judah. He's going to be betrayed for 30 pieces of silver, I think is one. Ton of stuff outside of his control. He wouldn't have even been able to like manipulate, even if he was like really, really like up to date on what he wanted to do and like kind of make it look like he was the Messiah. And so there are dozens of these things that Jesus did fulfill in the New Testament. But what actually was like the tipping point for me, and it's funny that it's math, because again, I hate math, man. But it's just some way that God got to my soul, was just, there's a book that Josh McDowell wrote. It's called Evidence That Demands a Verdict. And he had a mathematician there, and he wanted to find out, like, hey, what's the probability of Jesus stumbling into some of these things? Like, is there a chance some guy could like
Just randomly
be
crucified.
like, hey, it's Jesus, and he happened to hit all these checks in the boxes, and maybe wasn't the Son of God.
Right.
And he has this mathematician that helped him do it. I think it was like Peter Stoner was his name. And he's like, let's just start with 8 of them. Like, there's dozens and dozens, but let's start with 8. He randomly selected 8. And dude, the number's absurd. He's like, all right, the chances of this happening is a 1 followed by 17 zeros. I think it's I wrote it down, a 100 quadrillion, I think is what ChatGPT told me it was.
That's not a made-up word.
Not a made-up word. I know, it's almost like you went to your kid, like,
It's like,
make
that's
up
like my
numbers.
son Dallas makes up big words, and
Print
that sounds
Monopoly
like
money.
one.
Is the equivalent of
100
that.
gazillion.
But so thankfully, the visual part of this, right? Math, you're like, what does that even mean, right? The mathematician helped him, like, all right, here's like a visual to explain what this would be like.
Wow.
He's like, all right, picture you rent out the state of Texas. You get your buddy, you rent out the state of Texas for a day, and you fill it up 2 feet high with silver dollars. If you're listening and you're like under 21, silver dollars are like, before Venmo, it's like a bigger quarter, right?
Yeah.
And so you fill it up to 2 feet tall, and then you get a Sharpie, put an X on one, stir it up, put it in the state. And then you get your friend, you're like, all right, dude, this is what we're doing today. In the state of Texas, I've hidden the $1 silver dollar with the X on it. I'm going to blindfold you, go find it. Wow. And it would be like the first try of finding
The very first try.
And that's just 8 of those. Like, man, there are dozens and dozens of these things. And again, for whatever reason, for me, that was the thing where it's like, okay, I can either believe he's the Son of God, and God is telling this story from the beginning of time that's leading up to who Jesus is, or I can choose just to look the other way at this.
Yeah.
And that for me, along with all this other stuff God was doing in my heart, was enough to be like,
Yeah.
all right, this is my faith. Jesus is who he said he is.
Wow.
I may as well believe it. as opposed to thinking that, all right, like me
That's
and my friend can
powerful.
go find
That's
this,
so cool.
Yeah,
this
that
silver
is
dollar in
powerful.
Texas.
That's a huge number.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absurd.
That's almost as much as how much the Eagles beat the Chiefs by in the Super Bowl.
Oh, man.
Almost.
Almost.
Yeah. It's huge.
Now, my brother's a big Kansas State Chiefs fan, and it was a very sad day for him.
Oh, it was a beautiful day.
It was,
And you got to nurse it as much as you can as an Eagles fan because you don't know when it's going to happen again.
So, John, anything else on prophecies? Like any other pieces of that, or maybe some other nuggets you want to?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned all the big significant ones. We talked about the ones before when we were talking about the reliability of the Bible. So you should go back and watch that podcast if you haven't seen that. But when you think that God is sending a message saying, look for this Messiah, this secret agent, the person that I have deputized to come in and redeem all of humanity, and you go to Isaiah 53, you go to Psalm 22, and we talked about this before, where Psalm 22 talks about they've pierced my hands and feet, okay? And now, interesting to note, there are a couple different notes on that word, ka'ari and ka'aru. So ka'ari and ka'aru sound very close to each other. And so they're not sure whether that means they have pierced my hands and feet or whether like a lion, my hands and feet. But even lions' paws get attached to a pole when they're pulled out of the forest, okay, or out of the wilderness. So either way, it still works for crucifixion. They stare at me, they gloat at me, they cast lots for my clothing. Wow. All of the description of Psalm 22 is of someone being crucified. And they've been cardiologists that go through that, and they're like, this is exactly what happens. Your bones come out of joint, your tongue sticks to the roof of your mouth. All of those things happen. Things he couldn't even control, people casting lots for his garments. Now here's the thing, that was written in 1000 BC. Crucifixion wasn't invented yet.
Yeah.
So everybody reading that would have been like, wow.
That's weird.
What's up with that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, Isaiah 53 has the same thing of stripes. He took stripes. I'm like, I'm such a contextual, I just think of the big picture, but by his wounds we were healed. There we go. I got something out of it. But again, that's hundreds of years before Jesus. To me, I don't know how you can look at that and not be affected by it. Now, again, if we compare this with other religions, if we compare this with other religious literature, and not to bash any other religions, honestly, I'll be honest with you, and don't take this out of context, but I think there's a lot of wisdom we can learn from Buddhism. I think Christians especially can learn how to just calm down, not just be more in the moment and not worry about everything. I believe that Hinduism has a lot of creative solutions to community, how to solve problems within community. When you look at the Mahayana, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, all of these particular tomes, in Buddhism, is a Tripitaka. There's a lot of great wisdom we can learn from Confucius, the rest of it. Okay, so again, I'm not bashing religions, but what I am saying is that no one's going to look at the Mahayana in Hinduism and they're going to say, well, that's history. No one's going to say Lakshmi and Sita and Rama, they all jumped on the back of this one monkey and jumped over to the monkey kingdom. They're not going to say that happened in history. They're going to say, no, it's kind of like a picture. It's an analogy. It's a metaphor. So when we look at the uniqueness of prophecy, how among all the world's religions, how different it is, that it actually happened in time, okay? Yeah. It happened to a person in time. When the Buddha was in his Siddhartha Gautama, he's gathered with his disciples, his last night on earth, he's having dinner, and it's not like the Last Supper. It's not like, I'm about to die. He just looks at them and goes, hey, when I die, don't make me into a god, okay? Because we have enough of those illusions. And then he goes, falls face forward into his rice. They think he might have been poisoned. Wow. Fascinating.
Wow.
So those were his last words. Jesus didn't have just last words. He had hundreds of years of words preceding him, forecasting what he's going to do. Yeah. That's what makes it unique. So when we talk about prophecy, we're not just talking about everybody has prophecy. No, they don't. They really don't. And they'll admit to it. No, we don't have it. That's unique about the Hebrew scriptures that read into New Testament.
Cool. That's awesome.